So I want to holler at y'all real quick. Just made it back home yesterday from the camp trip, the boys and men's camp trip over the weekend. Me and my son had a phenomenal time. It was a lot of learning lessons as a man, and it was a lot of learning lessons for my son. And we've talked about it, about his experience and my experience. And we haven't been since my boy was about 5 or 6. He's 12 now. But it was a lot to catch up on, and it was a lot to just take away, a lot of takeaways. But as a man, as a mentor on this camping trip and fellowshipping with not just the men, but the fellowship with the youth was the most crucial and some of the most enjoyable part of it. We had activities, games, talked about certain things personally that a lot of us are dealing with in our personal lives, and it comes from ages 7 to 17-year-old boys, as well as the men that was there. And a lot of things that we talked about was very, what's the word I want to look for, therapeutic for a lot of us. It was very therapeutic, and a lot of times we were able to understand that we are all, as men, we're not alone. But I want to talk about this real quick when it came to this 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 teenage portion of the camp, where I was talking to the kids, and it was, like I say, between the ages of 7 to 17. And I told the men, and I told some of the other counselors, hey, I know we have ages 7 to 17, but can we separate them for a little bit, because I want to talk to them about something that's very real and something that they need to hear. No, no punches, no, no beat around the bush. And when we got around that campfire, when we got to really having some real chop up dialogue, I told them straight like this. I know y'all got phones. I know y'all have access to internet. I know some of y'all got tablets. You got your laptops, whatever. Y'all gotta stop watching that nasty stuff. Y'all gotta stop watching these twerk videos, that corn, that stuff that's turning you out psychologically, spiritually. That's where Satan creeps in. And a lot of young men, a lot of those young boys was admitting that they had addictions to corn, addictions to OnlyFans. Well, not OnlyFans, but addictions to adult films and stuff like that. Because with our phone devices, we have access to the most demonic platforms, and corn is the most demonic platform that any young man can get a hold to. Young kid, young man, older man, it's destructive. Because I had them understand that when you get to watching that nasty stuff, and you get to playing with yourself and all this other stuff, that turns you out psychologically. A lot of men don't understand what corn does. A lot of men don't understand. It ruins you psychologically. It ruins how you see women. It ruins how you interact with women. And you can't even have a decent, innocent relationship with a woman, with a young lady, because the whole time you talking to her, you visualizing yourself with her. In the bed, you visualizing her naked and all this other stuff. Because your mind is so warped, it's so perverted. And a lot of young men at that campsite didn't have dads, don't have fathers, don't have older brothers or uncles, or just solid, consistent men in their family. Talking to them about dealing with women and their mind and sex, it was very interesting. And it was very interesting of the aspect to see how they view women. To talk to some of these high school boys and to see how they view young ladies and view young women, it was very disappointing to me. It was very disappointing to me because it was a lot of young men there that sound like these broken men on these podcasts. These broken men that whine about women and villainize women and shame women. A lot of these young men sound just like your podcasters that a lot of you listen to. Well, you know, Mr. Jason, man, these women, man, these gold diggers, man, these girls out here, man, you can't trust them. They scandalous, they scheming. And I'm sitting here and I'm, you know, when you watching a movie and you see it can be the protagonist or the antagonist of a movie, they're having flashback moments, like somebody talking to them, telling them something, and as it can be a colleague talking to them in the movie, they have a flashback like it's their brother or somebody in their past. And that's what I was visualizing as I was listening to some of these kids talk. I'm talking to some of these 15, 16-year-olds, and as they're talking to me, I'm seeing the very same face of podcasters. I'm seeing the very same face of some of these men on the internet with these ungodly platforms demonizing women, villainizing women. And I had to slaughter and slice through these red pill talking points with scripture, with God's word. And so many young men have been turned out not only by watching that nasty stuff, but they have been turned out by listening to demonic content. Listening to the Andrew Tates, listening to the Fresh and Fits, listening to all these other red pill content creators, Manosphere content creators. And just like how we talk about music influences children and talking about drugs and violence and, you know, gunplay and all this other stuff in rap music and sexualizing, objectifying women in rap music, these podcasts are doing just as much or if not more damage. So look at it like this. Our youth are being poisoned through music. They're being poisoned through what's on television. They're being poisoned through social media. They're being poisoned through podcasts. They're being poisoned through their personal life of some of the things that they deal with at home. It's a no escape. These children have 5 and 6 layers, 5 and 6 walls surrounding them, and they have nowhere to go. And thanks to Satan with Red Pill, a lot of these young men see women as villains. Yeah, Mr. Jason, man, these women out here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they laughing. And right when I start talking to them and going and just ripping their arguments to shreds on Red Pill and seeing women this way, seeing women that way, I can see their brain start to shut on and start to realize, okay, yeah. And I'm getting disappointed as I'm talking about this because, like I said, it's bittersweet because I'm realizing I had a moment of breaking through. And I got through to a lot of them, through some of them, but not all. 3 days on top of them having their own phones and they're able to look at that mess and it's all flooded and attached to their algorithm. So if we want to talk about the next generation of men, we got work to do. We got work to do. Because how can women get married? How can women get found as a wife? How can a man make a woman a wife when we have so many of our younger generation of men coming up seeing women as villains? Seeing women as challengers and not helpmeets. And it was so disappointing to see how some of these young men see young girls. We was talking to a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and he was talking about how his mom, no, he's 9. I'm sorry. He was 9 years old, and he was talking about how I wish my dad was in my life, and I wish my dad didn't have all these distractions and things of that nature. And I'm talking to him, and this other, gentleman talking to him at the same time, just kind of breaking barriers and getting a level of understanding with him. And if I want you to understand, men and women, whether you watching this, our children know what's going on. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Our children know what's going on. They're able to put 2 and 2 together. I was talking to this 9-year-old, and he was telling me how he wished his dad was in his life. And I was talking to him in a way where it's like, well, maybe your dad this, maybe you, no, sir, Mr. Jason. I hear my mom talking to my dad on the phone. I hear my mom begging my dad to be in my life. I hear my mom asking my dad to show up to some of my football games, to some of my track meets. I hear my mom and every time my mom is doing my sister's hair, sometimes she's trying to multitask and she may put him on speakerphone for a split second and I may hear some of the conversation. And when I'm listening to this this sharp, intelligent 9-year-old tell me how he's able to put two and two together and piece it together that his dad is just a voluntary deadbeat, it's not like one of those situations where the mama is trying to keep him from his dad. The mama trying to keep him and not allow the dad to see. We talking about this boy can hear his mama trying to get his dad in his life. And that's why we have so many men that's growing up in these type of situations and they don't go to therapy. They don't talk to anybody. They deal with all this trauma and drama throughout their life, and they don't get to see how a man interacts with a woman. They don't get to see how a man loves his mother like Christ loved the church. And they grow up inflicting their trauma, inflicting their pain on women in these relationships. And that's the common denominator. When I have deep dive discussions with some of these young men, with some of the things that they're experiencing right now, it's shaping and forming and molding the outlook on how they see women. And when they have access to social media, watching that nasty stuff and turning their mind out, turning their spirit out, it's a lose-lose situation that a lot of these young men are coming up in. And that's why we have your nearest podcaster that get on the internet, troll women, bash women for being single moms, troll women, shame women for their success. All women the same, all women this. Is just not one good, not one woman out there that's good enough. Finding something wrong with every category of women, just nitpicking women, micro critiquing, micro analyzing, and just sounding like a supervillain. A lot of these men on the internet with these podcasts, they look like Marvel villains. They sound like Batman villains. They wake up every day trying to go to war, trying to figure out how they can destroy the world. They wake up in the morning, put their little Rambo paint, they war paint on their face, trying to figure out how they can go to war against women, instead of realizing they need to go to war against the man in the mirror. And so many of these women don't stand a chance. Women ain't perfect. Women have their issues. Trust me. I'm married. Women are not perfect. But at the end of the day, it all starts with us as men. It all starts with us, with our upbringing. What's shaping our mindset? What are we looking at? What are we reading? What's the development stages of our lifestyle? All of that shapes the mind of a man. So when you're a broken man, a woman don't stand a chance. No matter if she got her stuff together, no matter if she's a Proverbs 31 woman and she know what she's doing for herself and where she's headed, a lot of these women gonna have problems because it's the man's job to find a wife. It's not a woman's job to find a husband. Point blank, period. But it was very disappointing to me to see how we have so many young men that's watching that type of content and that's being brainwashed by it, by a red pill. And they didn't have to specifically say the word, but to hear the talking points, to hear how some of these young men sound, they are literally, that's the category that a lot of these young men are in. And before I close this out, unfortunately, that's why some of your daughters are not going to get married. Going to have a hard time dating. Some of your sisters going to have a hard time dating. Your nieces, hard time dating. Hard time for them to be found. because we have so many men that view women in a villainized way. It's just so hostile. And it is what it is. But I'm just doing my due diligence at the same time. It was a great experience at the camp trip, but we got a lot of work to do as men. We got a lot of work to do. But I just want to check in with y'all. Hopefully y'all are having a wonderful Sunday. If you want to play this over to get something out of this, you can play it back, listen to it, share it. You know what to do. But anyway, man, God bless. Y'all have a good one. Peace.